Hello. This episode of the Career Pulse podcast is actually dedicated in the memory of Joel Porter. Joel Porter was a film school teacher of mine from the Motion Picture Institute of Michigan during my 2013-2014 school year. I had the pleasure to work with Joe alongside him personally for doing post-audio on my thesis film, 1 out of 10 that year, which went on the screen in about 3 film festivals. So very funny, energetic guy, a lot of great memories, lessons learned from very dedicated teacher, mentor, all around great, fun guy. He will be missed.
Be a man of your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. That's like really huge. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, that fear will, paralyze you and cause you oftentimes to really slow down your pace. Mm-hmm. And so just don't be afraid, to make mistakes. Like, it's going to happen. And I guess lastly, like I said earlier, be curious with just life, period. As a filmmaker, I feel as though you have some of these filmmakers, some of these writers that try to get into genres and just things that they have no interest in. They kind of do it for money, or they do it because it's the popular thing to do at the time. Mm-hmm. But they just have no knowledge of it, and it's just like, hey, listen, stay true to who you are, and put that kind of stuff out. Mm-hmm. Don't start jumping into stuff that you just have no clue what you're doing, because then you're gonna put out crappy work.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Career Pulse podcast, your vital sign for career and business from everyday go-getters like you. I'm your host, Hayward Crawford. I am a filmmaker, financial coach, and content producer. And I'm here to bring you guys episode 6 of season 2 with the one and only Zach Cunningham and Don Snipes, both filmmakers. So this is who the show is for. This is a show where I'm taking different people from different industries and kind of breaking down some of their some parallels or some similarities to their success and what things that they do to stay on the cutting edge. So this show is for people who want to learn more and have a more organic conversation that they can listen to and get key takeaways from. This isn't a show where give me the 2, 3, 4 minute podcast or interview to give me the little, get me up or a quick, magic bullet of what's the one thing or important thing. This is a very intimate podcast, as you guys know. So I'm happy to share with you guys our interview with Zach Cunningham and Don Snipes. Zach Cunningham and Don Snipes, they're both directors and filmmakers from Detroit. Basically, Zach hit the ground running when he was early on through his passions of poetry and jazz. Don actually came up through construction. He actually went to carpenter school here in Michigan, and they went through a bit of a recession, like a lot of filmmakers kind of went through, when the incentives got cut. And, he found his passion a little bit later, and he met Zach while he was doing documentaries. They started working on different films. So I'm really proud of this interview. It's unique because it's my first time interviewing 2 guests, but also 2 guests cut from the same cloth, worked on the same film, a film director and assistant director. So very interesting. We talk about Zach's journey through his early shorts with The Crack and Regret, and also being featured in different publications. We talk about his current project, Little Church, that he directed, is going to be going to the Trinity International Film Festival in August, and Don Snipes was the assistant director. So this is a really great dialogue. Once again, a lot of good takeaways, a lot of good books and film references, a little bit more outside the box. We're not just talking about Quentin Tarantino, Pulp Fiction, and Spike Lee, even though we do love Spike Lee. We're just kind of, we dig a little bit deeper. So a lot of good takeaways and a lot of good nuggets and crannies. So please enjoy this interview with the one and only Zach Cunningham and Don Snipes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Career Pulse podcast, your vital sign for career and business from everyday go-getters like you. My name is Hayward Crawford. I am a filmmaker, financial coach, and content producer. And I'm here today with the one and only Zachary Cunningham and Don Snipes. How you guys doing today?
Yeah, good.
Lovely,
All right.
lovely day.
Lovely, hot, sunny day, as well as lovely. Okay. Now, tell me, guys, it's great having you guys out here. I know you guys are hot off a Little Church shoot, and we'll get into that, your latest directorial effort. Mm-hmm. So tell me, Zach, Don, for new listeners who haven't met you guys yet, what do you typically tell people when they ask you what you do?
So I say filmmaker. I say filmmaker. But I just got comfortable actually saying that because I always looked at film as like a part-time thing, mm-hmm. and that was probably due to my confidence in it because mm-hmm. it's rough,
right?
Trying to take it up. So like. Now I say filmmaker, but that's because, like that point in The Matrix where Neo turns around and fights Agent Smith in the little subway.
Yep.
And then Morpheus says he's starting to believe.
Right.
That's kind of the space I'm in right now.
He had it in him.
Exactly. That's why I say I call myself filmmaker now.
Beast mode. Okay.
Yeah.
Don?
I was playing around with this the other day because I ran into somebody in a restaurant and they said, I noticed that, you do plays. Sometimes I say you do film. Mm-hmm. He said, are you a creative strategist? All right. Mm. And so I said, that sounds interesting only because for me, I guess I try not to box myself in with, some people ask me, which one do you like to do better? Do you like to act or direct? Because mm-hmm. prior to now, I tell people, hey, I'm an actor/director, period. Mm-hmm. And I say that without saying that I'm an aspiring director/actor, but, something that I've actively been doing and pursuing. So I don't know. I guess I kind of just toss it up. It's not really important to me. I consider myself a team player, if anything else. That's probably the most important thing to me because I try not to get caught up in titles too much.
Okay. Now, tell me, you guys, about some of your beginnings growing up that led to, Don, your acting and directing. Then Zach, I know you had early passions in poetry and documentary filmmaking. So tell us a little bit about those beginnings.
You want to go? Because Don history is crazy, so.
Man, you know what? First of all, I have a background in construction, right? Mm-hmm. And
right.
I went to carpenter school to become a commercial carpenter. Graduated, received my journeyman's license, and then all of a sudden the economy just boom, mm-hmm. just went tank here in Michigan, and so for about 3 years, no job, no employment, no nothing. And I was reading a book by Deepak Chopra, The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. Mm-hmm. Okay, and in this book it had these 2 lists, and these lists pretty much gave you guidance in terms of how do you know if you're making decisions with your heart or your ego. All right, mm-hmm. And so. Ironically, when I finished the book, a week later, someone called me and said, hey, I'm going to New York to this hotel called the Dream Hotel. You want to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Mm-hmm. I get there, come to find out, Deepak Chopra owns the hotel, right? So they have this meditating session in the basement, and they go around and ask everybody, if you had $100 million, what would you be doing with your life? And I said, well, I probably would be acting. Mm-hmm. And then the question for everybody was, okay, well, are you doing now what you said you would do? And I'm like, no. Why? Well, it's this and that. Cut it out. Go do that. That's going to make you happy. This and that is going to be tough, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Long story short, I got home, and that year I did 5 stage plays, and I was the lead in every one of them. So that kind of sparked off my interest in terms of, wanting to act. And I was in an acting class once, and we had to turn in a resume. And after class, one of my acting coaches said, hey, Don, you have director on here. Mm-hmm. She said, have you ever directed anything? And I said, no, not really. But, you know, I'm
Sounds good.
Listen. We all, I think, kind of do that sometimes. You know, we aspire to do some things,
Right.
you know. So I wanted to beef up my resume.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I would be very cautious in this industry to tell people that this is what you do if you don't have anything to back it up. All right. So from that point, I said, well, you know what? Let me go learn about directing. So I called up all of the some of the bigger playwrights here in Michigan. Finally, somebody let me come on and I say, look, you don't even have to pay me. Just let me, you know, assistant director for your shows. I want to learn. I want to say probably within a year, I had the opportunity to direct my first show. And since then, I've worked with everybody from Brumman, from Martin Lawrence. I've directed shows with Vivica Fox, Thelma from Good Times. Shout out to Thelma because she's still fine even though she's over 60. I work with Big Red from Five Heartbeats. So Miguel Nunez from Joanna Man.
Clifton Powell.
Yeah, Clifton Powell. So for me, my journey has kind of been up and down, but I've enjoyed it and I'll finish by saying this. Up until the time when I met Zach. When I met Zach, I too was okay. I'm acting, got some directing under my skills, and you know, hey, let's go ahead and really start pushing some projects together. And when I met Zach just, you know, he exuded passion for what he did with everything. He to me was like me. You know what I'm saying? He thorough. If I asked him a question and he knew it, he'd give me an answer. And if he didn't, hey, we'll figure it out. Because a lot of people in this business, they'll tell you anything. Yeah. And I'm one of those guys, my friends joke, you know, I'm like fact checker 101. You tell me something, I'm going to say, oh, okay, cool. And then I'm going to go home and start doing my research. Yeah. You have one time to tell me some BS. And after that, you know what I'm saying? And so, I was fortunate enough to meet Zach and him and I started building a relationship, and we've been going since then. So that's pretty much been my journey.
Awesome. Zach?
For me, it's I would probably go back to my childhood, because I think it starts with like my foundation, in that so me and my brother, I have one brother, and we're first generation Detroiters. My mom and father are from Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. And so they came up here. They divorced when I was like really young. And so, of course, being a kid of divorce, that has like different nuances in terms of how you grew up and things like that. So probably around like 12, 13, I started writing poetry. Okay. So none of this happens without poetry. No filmmaking, none of that happens without like my poetry career. But when I started writing poetry, I would always write like stories. Like these little kind of like, cause Nas is my favorite rapper, but easily my favorite rapper.
Top 5.
Yeah, and Nas telling stories, that was his thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I grew up on I Gave You Power, so I heard these stories. I'm like, man, I want to be able to do that with my pen. Yeah, exactly. One love. And so like when I would hear these stories, I would write poems like that. And so when I was like 16 or 17, I actually wrote The Crack, which was my first short. But prior to that, I just wanted to make visuals.
So you wrote it back then, but it was like another, 7-8 years before?
Yeah, because it was just one of my favorite poems. It was just a dark story I just wrote, just on some probably tweaking, just up late at night. And then just from there, like it just kind of led to other things because I wanted to create visuals for my poetry. Okay. And and then once I wrote The Crack, it was just ground running. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, we can actually make films that people actually like.
Right. Like, there's a proof of concept.
Like, exactly. And then, you know, it just kept going and going and going and going. And when I picked up a camera, I kind of fell in love with it. But I gotta give extreme credit to my homegirl, LaToya Colts, because we started out together. And Toya was the first person I saw with a camera. And Toya, ironically, taught me how to use a camera when we were creating our early stuff. So probably if I don't, and I've known Toya my whole life. She's like a childhood friend. Yeah. If I don't run into Toya, like one day at her grandma's crib, and she had a camera on her, and I'm like, man, I want to be able to use that, and I put that bug in her ear. None of this probably happens if that don't happen.
So we have her to thank.
Exactly.
Shout out to LaToya Coates.
I got her to thank for sure.
Cool. Now tell us a little bit about the Bess Part 1 and Part 2, the early documentaries you worked on.
So Bess was so probably in like my early 20s, I got into like jazz music, hardcore. Probably around like 21, 22.
Okay.
And it was this Miles Davis song. I used to listen to jazz on Pandora. You know, before Pandora was like one of the early streaming joints.
Right.
And I would put on like the Miles Davis station, and it was this song that came on called "Bess, You Is My Woman Now," and it was so cold. It was on the Miles Davis album "Porgy and Bess," which was with his one of his collaborations with Bill Evans.
Okay.
And so I just had these poems already sitting around, and I just kind of made like these kind of like avant-garde visuals to match up with the poetry, and I was like spitting poetry over Miles Davis instrumentation. It was like super weird, super quirky, but that was just kind of what I was into at the time. Like I was heavily influenced by like the avant-garde jazz from like Coltrane, Pharoah Sanders. So it was like me and Toya, we just go into a space, we'd just kind of make up a story, film it there, we'd compose the shots, we got the poetry, and then we just, I don't know, it was just special, and that kind of like created the passion that I have for it today.
So do you got like notebooks of just poems and just
yeah, for sure. I probably got like, I always tell people, I probably got like a couple thousand poems.
Okay, so
notebooks.
you got a backlog like Tupac. So,
yeah, for sure.
You could just keep putting it out.
For sure.
Next, as far as like maybe translating into a short film.
Well, I mean.
You never know.
So the thing is, you of course when you get older, you look back at your old stuff, you like, man, this is terrible. You know what I'm saying?
I got those too.
You know what I'm saying? You like, this is terrible. And then just your views change too. So yeah, I mean, I got a lot of stuff.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about you had a documentary you also did, The Strength to Persevere, about your father's upbringing.
Yeah. Yeah, we just did that. My pops is a pastor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was at church one day. He preached. I was like, man, Pops, let me mic you. Let me just mic you for my camera. This was like when I first started. I got my first live mic. You know how it is when you get your first piece of equipment. You got to use it some type of way. So I'm like, Pops, let me mic you. And so I just filmed it, and then I interviewed him after church. And it turned into something. So I'm like, oh, damn, I can take this 30-minute interview and make a little mini doc off it. Because this was like back when like Philip Bloom was like the guy.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
He was the guy. Like, so I'm like, man, I want
to. a lot. Oh yeah.
I'm like, I want to do what Philip Bloom does. Unfortunately, I underexposed the whole joint. Like, it's like crazy. But
Philip Bloom, for those of you guys don't know, he had a lot of early DSLR how-tos, tutorials. Man, just like if you got that T3i joint right out the box, all you need to look at.
And that's what I had. I had a T3i. That was my first camera. So.
Right here, brother. Yeah, that was me too.
Yeah.
First DSLR. All right, we got on a tangent there. But yeah. And now the crack, you wrote that early on in your teens. Regret, when did that come?
So I wrote the crack. So I'll give you some backstory because this is how it goes. Like, My mom is like very instrumental in like the whole journey because my mom she's probably my toughest critic in terms of my work, but when she likes something, like she go hard. So we did the crack, and shouts out to Orval Williams because we did the crack. That me and him, we got our start together. I know he was on the podcast. What was he in the first season?
Yeah. Well, first episode this season.
First episode.
Shout out to Orval.
Yeah, Orval, that's my dog. So we did the crack. We filmed that in 3 days, and we just cut it all together. I sent it to my mom's. And she was like, "This is amazing. We have to have a premiere." I'm like, "Okay." I didn't even know. Like, so she sent the email to all her contacts. Within probably like a day, we had a venue. Free. Now, this is all free, just off the strength of who my mom's is.
Yeah, free is good.
Free. We had a free venue. We had Straight Ahead playing, Marion Hayden, who's a legendary bass player, her band. We had Flowers. We had Ambassador Magazine. We had Black Magazine. We had all this stuff. So I'm like, man, The crack was 12 minutes, so I was like, man, I need to come up with another short. And ironically, during that time, one of my coworkers' husbands had passed away, and I went to the funeral. And it was interesting to me to see like certain people's rhetoric at the funeral, because it felt like some people were kind of like regretting how they treated the person while they were still alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I went home and I just wrote regrets.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So, and you know, rest is kind of history.
Yep. Life imitating art.
Exactly.
Vice versa.
Exactly.
So, and next question, and I'll start with you, Don. What do you do to keep your finger on the pulse of your career? And what I mean by that, what do you do as an artist, actor, director, creative strategist? What do you do on a daily or weekly basis to stay sharp and on the cutting edge of your industry? What do you do to stay sharp with your craft? Whether it's methods or just studying.
Check this out, though.
Of your industry.
This not a real word, but this a Snipes word. Like I'm a readaholic. You know what I'm saying? Like I am a voracious reader, and I ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
Like one thing, I have two daughters too. You know, they're my heart. That's my heart. But I tell them all the time, never be ashamed to ask questions. Okay, and I'm one of those guys where I'm always digging for information. Like to me, that is what keeps me sharp. And I wanted to say this too. Just it was funny while Zach was talking about Nas and him writing poems early on. I used to write a lot of raps, but that Nas's One Love song was like my favorite beat. So every rap I wrote would be to that song. But I say that to say that him and I, we definitely, me personally, I feel like we have a lot of the same energy. Maybe it's expressed differently at times, and I appreciate that. But
I turn up.
For me, it's definitely, I ask a lot of questions. I read. And in this day and age, I try to stay up on as much technology as possible. Like, I just feel like it's imperative to really know what's going on in this business, because at the end of the day, my philosophy is the technology may change, okay, and some people may say, yo, the technology is the game changer in terms of bringing some of the indie filmmakers as close as possible to making some of the best quality out there. But I say that the storytellers are still going to be the go-to guys, like period. You know, and that's the one thing that I think the collaboration and the collaborative effort between Zach and I has been kind of fun. You know, just kind of, and we're still kind of building that. You know what I'm saying, as we speak, which is cool. And so being a great storyteller, constantly reading, whether it's about characters, whether it's about new technology in terms of cameras, whether it's about, you know, the business plan of, you know, what we're trying to do. All of those things matter to me, man. And I'm just a voracious reader, a readaholic, and you know, I dig for information.
Okay. And Zach, what about you? What do you do to stay on the, you know, the cutting edge of, you know, your craft?
What do I do to stay on the cutting edge of my craft? I'll say this. I'm just trying to get better every day. I think that's my thing. And I also look, because to me, I say cutting edge is weird, because I feel like a lot of the most cutting edge people is kind of like how they handle their business as well. So right now, that's really like a big focus of mine. Okay. Like to a degree, I feel like making the work is the easy part. I feel like selling it and getting it in front of the right people in order to maximize that work is the hard part.
Okay.
So Little Church, I think, is the first in that experimentation in terms of really kind of scoping out the business aspect of it. And an example of that is, you know, when I wrote the script for Little Church, I reached out to Marshall Montgomery, who runs Trinity, and Lazar Favors. You know, they're married, and they run run Trinity together, and I reached out to them and I asked them if they would be interested in producing Little Church. And so that was like one of those steps to where it's like, okay, instead of just making a film and then just putting it out there and then it just kind of falls by the wayside, similar to kind of like how our last film did. I want this film to kind of extend itself so we can actually use it as like the business card to hand off to people and be like, hey, like we're legitimate players in this business. That's really the goal. So I'm always like listening to different maybe podcasts, reading articles. I like it's one that stands out, Indie Film Hustle. I like Indie Film Hustle a lot because they is focused on the independent film genre, if you want to say, or category. Okay. And me and Don, we're big on independence. Mm-hmm. So figuring out a way to maximize like our footprint in this industry is like kind of like a big deal, and they do a good job of doing that. And I think being black, being African American film producers and directors, that makes a big difference as well, because I feel like there's a lot of ground to be broken for us in the industry. You know what I mean?
Still a lot of ground left to break.
Exactly. I mean, you see what Black Panther did. I know Sorry to Bother You was in the thing. Jordan Peele would Get Out. Like all these different things, but like it's a lot of, just on a business end, it's a lot of ground to be broken. So.
Yeah, and I feel like we are kind of entering a new renaissance of black behind the camera in those boardrooms. Of course, got Issa Rae as well.
Yes. Donald Glover.
Yeah, Michael Carmichael. That's the name, right? Michael Carmichael.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I met him too. Pretty cool dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was at. I go to a television producers conference. I've been for like the last 3 years, and he was sitting on a panel one day. Real cool guy, dope. I like that. To me, he's one of those guys that he's a risk taker in terms of, what his ultimate goal is in terms of his show. He's like, yo, you guys put this money in my hand. I'm gonna do whatever I can do to get kicked off the air. Now a lot of people laugh when he said that, but he meant it. He was like, yo, that's my niche. If you watch the Carmichael show, it's kind of controversial. He says that he really tries to get people to have some type of dialogue on some of the current events and topics, and I thought that was like really, really dope.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're paying me to push the envelope, help me do it.
Definitely.
Now, as we kind of transition, what do you guys? How important do you guys feel is the area of time management? Is there anything you guys could recommend, like little advice or things you guys have found helpful, or what are your thoughts on just managing your time? And there's only 24 hours in a day. Could we get it all done or what?
Here's a big time management thing that I think is real important. Have somebody that's going to be an accountability partner. You know what I'm saying? In your endeavors. I think that, we grown, you know what I'm saying? You say, hey, look, this what I'm going to do it. Now, I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people, but I think what kind of, helps you to stay focused is to have somebody, you know what I'm saying, that you can be accountable for. One thing that when we started Little Church this time, that was important to Zach. It was just like, hey, look, if this is what you're going to do, then do that. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we don't really have a lot of time to be playing around. And I've been in meetings before, phone conferences and all that kind of stuff, where a person will make a statement and you quickly find out, you know what I'm saying, who the sensitive people in the room are. You know what I'm saying? And no offense to the sensitive people, but I'll just say this much. At the end of the day, to me, you know what I'm saying, I was taught a long time ago, as long as you know where you stand, no one can ever offend you. So to me, when I hear people say or make statements like that are very firm and direct, they never bother me. You understand what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
never bother me because in my mind it's like I don't have nothing to worry about that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It didn't really pertain to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna do what I do. But I've watched sometimes how people, you know what I'm saying, they get so sensitive in their feelings about so much of the wrong stuff, and it's just like, hey, listen, if you own your stuff and you taking care of business, come on, man, all that's not even needed. It's not necessary. So for me, in terms of time management, I do think it's important that, you know, obviously you work on, you know, your craft as much as possible, but at the same time, I guess a better way to put this is just to make sure that you surround yourself with like-minded individuals. You understand what I'm saying? Because some of that stuff, I was also told that, you know, activity doesn't amount to accomplishment. And you could be doing stuff all day, but if you really, really not moving forward, you could be running in place. Yeah. So I don't think it's so much as, you know, some people think, oh, man, I got to be busy all the time. No, you need to make sure that you have a plan and you're walking in the direction that's going to lead you or take you to a place that you weren't, you know, last year around the same time.
Right. Great point. Zach?
I would say, along with everything Don said, I would say, like, set realistic expectations for yourself in terms of what you can do and when you can do it. I think a lot of times, especially, like, in this industry, we'll like, set, like, these super unrealistic expectations for ourselves, almost knowing that we're never going to get them done. Yeah. So, like, I'll just say take it one day at a time, kind of chip away at something. Like, what a lot of us, we do, we kind of, like, we'll, like, work super hard for a short amount of time, and then we'll just don't do anything for, like, maybe 8 or 9 months. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know
I'm familiar with the cycle.
Yeah. So I would just say, like, just, to me, just doing a little bit every day, kind of chipping away at it, that's always a big thing in terms of time management. In terms of, like, production and producing and all those things, I would just say just try and be on time, man. You know what I'm saying? Be on time. Yeah. And Larry Moore, who kind of, I would say, gave me kind of like my industry start at MVP, collaborative or production company in Madison Heights. He used to always say, Zach, if you're 10 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. You know what I'm saying? And Don knows I'm always try to be at least 15 minutes early to everything, you know? So, yeah, just being realistic about yourself, chip away at it, and just being on time, man.
Awesome. Love it. Now about to go into the quick lightning round. You know, answer as quick as you can. We'll kind of blow through this. Favorite books you're reading right now, or kind of like some, I know you mentioned Deepak earlier, Don. Got some other favorites in there? Film
or some other favorite, but I like Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen. That's like a dope book that I like. Another one that I read, it's actually kind of simple. I read it last year, and it was simple yet very potent. It was called The Power and Influence of a Man. Even though Devon Franklin is a Seventh-day Adventist, I did read his first book, Produced by Faith, and there was a lot of great things to take away from that book. In turn, you know, he wrote the book from the perspective of, you know, a lot of people that try to get into Hollywood, they kind of shy away from their faith or whatever it is that they believe in, and they use it as kind of like a crutch. And he was pretty much saying, hey, look, use this to stay grounded in, and use this to and put it at the forefront of who you are. You know what I'm saying? The fabric of who you are, so that you don't get lost in this industry. So there were a lot of great things, I think, that he touched on in his book. Those are some of the things that kind of stand out. And I will admit, I'm one of those guys where I'll go to a book sale and, like, I'll look for some old school books on filmmaking. So, like, at my house right now, I have, just like, falling off. Yeah, like I have like the old school stuff with like right now I have this art of directing book, and I mean it's going back into the 70s in terms of camera shots and techniques, different things that actors would do repetitiously to, really pull it out of them. I really like a lot of the old school stuff. This digital world that we live in nowadays is cool, but I equate it to this, and I tell everybody. When I went and saw, was it Red Tail Steven Spielberg did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I walked out of the theater, and you had a lot of people, oh, man, it's Red Tails, you know what I'm saying? It's black film with these pilots and all that. I'm like, that was garbage.
Wait, was that Steven Spielberg or George Lucas?
George Lucas directed it. Spielberg
produced.
I mean, they always been producers.
One or the other.
Right. Yeah.
But it was a lifelong dream of one of them and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But this is how I felt about it.
Okay.
I watched that. And at some point during that movie, I felt like I was watching half movie, half cartoon. Like it was.
Yeah, it was
like
a lot of CGI.
There you go. Now, somebody said,
heavy.
"Well, damn, what was better than that?" I said, "Have you ever seen Top Gun?" Like when I watched that movie, like I really felt like those guys were in those machines. I felt like they were in a big metal aircraft. And this movie was real. You understand what I'm saying?
Which they were. It was all real planes.
I enjoyed that. And I think that a lot of movies nowadays, they're so quick to kind of go to that. It's just like, oh, man, we could just go ahead and add some special effects. Man, that stuff look whack to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to watch a superhero movie and he go from looking human to looking like a gummy bear or something. You know what I'm saying? In the next scene, it's just like, dude, this is whack. So for me, I really, really like a lot of the old school stuff, and I think that it just in terms of my journey, that's kind of like my niche. I think that that's one of those wheels that really doesn't need to be reinvented. I actually enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Zach, book favorites?
So book favorites of GP, The Godfather. The autobiography of Malcolm X, that book changed my life. Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. That's an amazing book.
Of the Sower?
Of the Sower.
The Sower. Okay.
Parable of the Sower. What else? I'll just go with there because a lot of my other choices will be radical. So we'll just keep it there.
Yeah.
The ISIS Papers, Francis Cress Wilson.
Oh man, that was cool.
Yeah. The ISIS Papers. Man. Look that up.
We can't even start on that. That was.
Yeah,
we could be back bring it back for part 2.
Yeah,
you can go down the rabbit holes.
For sure.
All right, so obviously we getting into favorite films, TV shows, just
So favorite film, The Godfather. The Godfather, easily is my favorite film. It's another Chinese film called In the Mood for Love. Anybody who knows me from since I've been doing film knows I absolutely adore this film. There Will Be Blood.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yep. PTA. Probably Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick. Let's see, Malcolm X. That movie changed my life when I saw it. And let's go one more. Let's go some. I'll go recent. It's this film, Carol, with Kate Blanchett and Rooney Mara.
Yeah, I just saw that recently.
That film is amazing.
I remember having a conversation with Jeremy Brockman. Shout out to Jeremy Brockman, DP on Little Church.
Yeah.
And he even mentioned, he had. Last time we had a coffee table conversation, he had mentioned he saw that film. So I can't wait to see some similarities in there.
Yeah, Carol is incredible, man. It's incredible. So.
Yeah, great score too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Don, favorite flicks?
Flicks. I am. Let me see here.
So many. I can narrow it to a genre because I get that question too, and I'm like, oof.
Listen, there's a movie that I really enjoy. It's called The Little Black Book. It was one of those British films. It was really dope. It's probably something I can watch over and over and over again. It's a war movie. I had to pick when you asked that question initially, if I had to pick a movie, the scenery in Braveheart stand out to me for some reason. Movies like Braveheart, The Gladiator, I really kind of enjoy that kind of stuff. But if I really had to get down to the nitty gritty, definitely The Color Purple, up in my top everything. Similar to Zach, Malcolm X, that movie definitely changed my life. I had the opportunity to play Malcolm X too in the meeting, and it was one of the, or actually it probably has been one of the best times that I've enjoyed doing a stage production. Having the opportunity just to even research, like when I was researching and preparing myself for the role, that was like bananas. I went down all kind of rabbit holes. And not to go off on a subject too, but there's this huge conspiracy that Malcolm X is Barack Obama's son. All right, and then and like you have like
I can see that.
All these people that have these huge presentations that talk about everything from their stature, their head shape, their finger mannerism when they speak. I mean, it is dead on, even to how when it is said that when Malcolm X had a son, and that it was in the paper that the Nation of Islam used to have, Fruits of Islam, Final Call. All right, but they said back in the day, it was in a small little passage in the Final Call, but they didn't tell the gender of the child, and some people believe that Malcolm X hid him having a son in fear of something happening to him at the time. But anyway, it gets deep. Yeah,
Malcolm, you are hiding a child.
Yeah, listen. When I say these,
get your hand out of my pocket.
When I was preparing for that role, we went to Chicago and performed and everything. Yeah. I had people coming up to me like, "Yo, you need to check this out, brother." And I'm like, "Okay." It just took me down a whole nother rabbit hole. And speaking of that, there's only. So you have the autobiography, but there's also another book about Malcolm X that came out by another gentleman.
Yeah, I don't rock with it though.
I don't either. And the day it came out, he died.
The Manning Marable guy.
Yeah. Man, this book have all kind of crazy. Anyway, get back to the movies.
Yeah, Manning Marable.
I'm a huge I'm a huge Spike Lee fan.
Okay.
All right. I actually enjoy
25th Hours.
Mo Better Blues, looking at
Edward Norton.
Early Spike joints. You know what I'm saying? She Gotta Have It, School Days. Like, I
love School Days.
I really can get into a lot of, just sit back and watch a lot of the old Spike Lee joints. So I don't know. I mean, I'm one of those kind of people, man. Different. I think that I now that I've gotten older, I'm looking for films that are really gonna resonate with me emotionally. Like, have I really, during the time that I saw this screenplay, that I become emotionally invested in whatever is going on, and that's kind of how I gauge things now in terms of storyline. So, but other than that, man, I think it's definitely a lot of great filmmakers out there, man, and we're trying to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the ultimate goal.
Pretty much.
A lot of good content right there. I can see definitely a lot of what molded you gentlemen into the powerhouse you guys are becoming. There's a lot of good stuff in there. So as we continue the lightning round, iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Yeah. iPhone, definitely.
iPhone, team iPhone. All right.
iPhone, team iPhone. Let's get it.
Alrighty. So tell me about some of your mentors, personal, professional, living, passed on, and why.
So I would say my first mentor is my pops. I would say both my parents, to be honest, in different ways. My pops is, as I said, a preacher, but he's a very charismatic, caring dude. You know what I'm saying? He's a very caring person, and people just like him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas my mom is a mentor in a way to where my mom was a trained musician. She initially wanted to be a musician, but now she's kind of like a marketing guru. You know what I'm saying? So like on a business,
and you need that on your team too.
Yeah, on a business. And my mom actually executive produced Little Church as well. Okay. Basically, put the money up.
Right.
You know what I'm
saying? As EPs do.
Yeah, put the money up. Okay. But yeah, my mom on that end is on the corporate end, and like being able to talk to people and things of that. Like if I have a business plan, if I have a situation where I'm just kind of negotiating in my mind how to handle somebody, I'm gonna go to my mom and ask.
Okay.
Mentors in film, as I mentioned earlier, Larry Moore from MVP.
Okay.
He kind of gave me my start. He pretty much taught me everything, like on a technical level, just in terms of how to work on set, being on time, like how to use certain things, certain equipment. Who else? Mentors. Yeah, that's all I'll go for. I'll go there for right now.
All right, cool. We can come back to you, Don.
For me, one guy definitely stands out, and I wish I had the opportunity to see him before he passed away, but he was my high school track coach. I literally, there are times where I can just hear this guy in my head. I mean, he was somebody when I was in high school that really, really just instilled a lot of mental toughness, discipline, perseverance. Like, these things were the foundation to him of, who we would eventually become in our lives. And it was extremely important to him. So even though it was, we stay after school for track practice, you got so much more. Coach Ballard. So definitely, shout out to Coach Ballard and his family. My aunt is an endodontist, but she's the first black female endodontist here in Michigan.
Okay.
And I've always admired her toughness and just her consistency in terms of when she set her mind to do something. And lastly, my uncle. My uncle, he was a boxer, military background, but he's extremely old-fashioned. And I kind of laugh now because, all while I was coming up, my uncle has pretty much continued to be the same way. He's never switched it up, as they say. You know what I'm saying? He's extremely old-fashioned. But I find myself now really enjoying and appreciating a lot of things that he taught me, just in terms of, outside of our careers and things that we pursuing in our life. He's really big on the importance of, family, camaraderie, checking on people, because he's like, yo, you're going to have those days where all of that stuff is really going to keep you centered. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes, especially for our generation, we chasing after that bag, we chasing after that goal, after that success.
Shiny
and the
object.
the whole time that we're doing that, we sometimes can miss out on those things that really going to matter the most once we get it. You know what I'm saying? So that's always been big for him. I mean, I don't care what I was doing. I can go over his house, and I might just stop in. Hey, Unc, I'm in this show. I got this going on. He called me Don Don. It's Don Don. Did you eat? No, I didn't eat. Okay, cool. Sit down. I'm about to fix you something right now. They'd be like, yo, I got stuff to do.
Right.
Nope. Let's do this. And he was always just kind of big on a lot of things now that, if you have kids or children nowadays, a lot of parents just dealing with the family don't eat with each other anymore. People barely talk to one another. And Unc was always really big on those things. So definitely my aunt, my uncle, and I give a lot of credit to my track coach, because he pretty much was just one of those guys that no matter, I feel like you could use the advice that he gave you in pretty much any situation in life.
Awesome, man. You gotta have the mentors, man. You gotta have that, tutorship. So, do you guys ever find yourself, and once again, it's probably not as prominent now as maybe as it was before, but I'm sure everybody struggles with it now and then. You ever find yourself comparing yourself to maybe other people's success or where someone else is at? You guys ever found yourself in those traps? Or is it kind of like, I'm a little bit past that because I know who I am. I know where I'm going. You guys still struggle with that balance? Or is it not as much of a, you know?
Do you ever, I don't necessarily think anybody ever gets over that to it fully.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're a filmmaker, you're going to be watching films.
Other people's films.
Yeah, you're going to be watching films. You're going to be
If
watching
you're an
other people's
actor,
films.
Oh,
you're looking
man.
at
You're
other
gonna be
people with this
looking-
role.
Like,
Yeah.
so like, it's one of those things, like, I think like when people try to go cold turkey on things, like they kind of like are lying to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, you find yourself comparing it. I just think you just got to keep those thoughts in check. You know what I'm saying? Understanding that like your journey includes a lot of nuances and idiosyncrasies that aren't included in somebody else's journey. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Great
like,
point.
Just like, so somebody may look at me and be like, oh, like you made Little Church. Well, my mama gave me $10,000 to make Little Church. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, if you don't have that, that don't mean that you can't do it. That just means that your journey just isn't there. They might end up getting $100,000 later from somebody else. So it's kind of just one of those things. You got your journey is your journey, my journey is my journey. But I do think that at certain times you can pull certain things from other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I try to find examples of kind of what I would like to do and how I would like my career to go by looking at other filmmakers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like you look at somebody like Ryan Coogler or whatever, and you look at his ascension into like filmmaking, the A class or whatever. He started out with Fruitvale. You know what I'm saying? And then he goes to Creed, and then he goes to Black Panther or whatever. Now, for me personally, I probably don't I'm focusing on the early part of his career.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How did he get to Fruitvale?
Right.
Like, that's where I'm pulling from.
And he was a Sundance Institute fellow as well before that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But then if you go and look back at his short films are, it's just certain things you can pull from them. You know what I mean? You look at PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, you look at Wong Kar-wai, like all my favorite filmmakers, like I may see something in what they do that I would like to implement into my own game, whether it be creatively or business-wise, or marketing-wise, and that's kind of just where we go. So, but I mean, of course, there's gonna be times where you just see something so good and you just like, damn, I want to make something that good. Right. You know what I mean? I don't think that
camera boy. Man,
yeah, I don't think that's ever gonna go away, man. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Okay. So. Well, it's comforting because I thought I was the only one.
Nah, that don't ever go away.
You know.
Yeah, I think so when I look at it from an acting standpoint, that's like a complete no-no. Again, I agree with Zach. It's hard for some, being an actor at times for you, not to make comparisons, but just from my own, personal belief, acting is something that, I feel like if the role's available for you, it's available for you. And I try not to look at any other actors and compare myself to them in any kind of way, because I just feel like, again, that's one of the pitfalls that some actors fall into with, trying to advance their career. Like, again, like Zach said, and I 100% agree with this, everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
I don't care, you got some actors that are out there in Cali. You have your actors that are in New York. That's a whole different set of actors right there. And then you got the Southern, the ATL, New Orleans actors. You know what I'm saying? Those are three different groups of individuals right now. I live here in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? And I'm, like Zach stated earlier, I'm really more or less, I got that Dame Dash attitude. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather create my own lane, and tell some of my own stories. I know and I understand that that's a lot harder than maybe somebody else's journey. But that's my choice. That's my decision. You know what I'm saying? And I'm willing to, roll with whatever comes with that. And again, I don't know. Like I said, there's nothing else I could really add to that. I think just in life, period, no matter what you do, it's natural to look and see what other people are doing, but at the end of the day, you know, you have to stay focused on who you are personally and just trying to get better and be better at whatever, you know, facet of life you're trying to get better at, whether that be, you know, career-wise, spiritually, financially, physically. Like, worry about what you got going on. You know what I'm saying? Because nowadays, you know, again, you know, they say pictures worth 1,000 words, but with this social media stuff that's going on, you have people wanting to kill themselves because they looking at what somebody else going on.
Right.
I saw the funniest thing on Instagram actually yesterday. Dude said, you dudes will go crazy over a chick that's posting a whole bunch of pictures, making it seem like she living the life, not even realizing that she homeless. She don't even have a home. You know what I'm saying? Now he was, you know, talking some stuff, but at the end of the day, people are really using this stuff to present themselves to be more or, you know, than who they really are.
Right. Highlight reel.
Listen, I have never, from the inception of social media, it took me a long time to even get on it to begin with, back when I first opened my little Twitter account. But I'm comfortable enough now to not get too focused on, man, I just got to post something. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, look, if I would rather, me post us celebrating that, the project we just finished is in the can. It's in post right now. You know what I'm saying? We working on something new.
Right.
Those things really, really bring fulfillment and some enjoyment to what I'm doing. And in terms of what somebody else got going on, I try not to even pay attention. I'm more or less trying to compete with Don than anybody else. Because to me, when you start comparing yourself, that's when you start competing. And when you're trying to compete with what other people got going on, like you said, that's when you get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, you can't. You're not gonna get what they get. Like, I'm never gonna be Ryan Coogler because I'm not Ryan Coogler. I'm Zachary Cunningham. You know what I mean? Like, Don never gonna be Zachary Cunningham. You know what I'm saying? I'm never gonna be Don Snipes because I was born to my parents. He was born to his. It's just a different trajectory.
Yeah, all we can do is keep being the best version of ourselves, and like you mentioned, stay focused on that lane.
Exactly.
Great point. So, what's next, guys? What's coming up down the road? I mean, where do you guys see the vision of not only Little Church, and I know you guys got wrapped up with that, but what are your visions looking 1 year out, 3 years out? What do you guys got coming up?
So Little Church is premiering on August 9th. At 8 p.m. at Trinity.
Okay, yeah, make sure to put that in show notes.
Yeah, Trinity International Film Festival in Detroit. So, basically, the goal for I'll just kind of give you like the whole idea behind Little Church. So basically, when I wrote the script, I actually started writing Little Church as a feature. Started writing as a feature initially. But then I got about like 5-6 pages in, and I'm like, you can actually tell like a little part of this story in like 12-13 pages.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I wrote the first draft, and I think I sent it to Don and my homegirl Morgan Breon. She's an actor as well.
All right.
And so I was just like, well, if we can get this joint made, that means we can actually use this as like kind of like a spec short for a feature.
Calling card. Yeah.
Exactly. Ironically, though, this is what a lot of people don't know. Little Church wasn't even next. It wasn't even next. You remember we had Seeds. We had another short called Seeds Grow Inward, which it's like an anthology short. We had that next, but I came up with a pitch deck because my plan was to go to pretty much everybody I knew with means and ask them for like $500 to $1,000 for a budget for Little Church, because I knew when I wrote Little Church it was gonna need like a substantial budget in order to get it done. If we wanted it to make it look the way we wanted it to look. So I made this little pitch deck or whatever, and I drove out to my mama crib. She was living in Northville at the time, and I was like, Mom, can you look over this with me? Like, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do, blah, 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 blah. And then so my mom, anybody who knows Janice Cosby, they'll laugh at this. My mom's like, I was like, Mom, I'm going to try and get a bunch of people to give me some money. She's like, why can't I just give you the money? I don't want anybody else to take credit for this. And I'm like, initially my response, my dumbass, I'm like, nah, man, I need to do this. Like, I need, because you do, like, pitching a film is, you need to learn how to do that.
Right.
But, and then she's like, no, like, I want to be the one to give you money. I don't want nobody else give you bread or whatever. And so when my mom, she was like, how much you need? And I was like, probably around $10,000. She's like, okay, I can do that. And this was like 3 months before production. Okay. So when do we shoot? In May? The end of May? So what's that? That's like February. Yeah. That's like February.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and I was like, Mom, shake on it. Like, literally shake on it. Right. You know what I mean?
I'll draft the paperwork later.
I'm like, shake on it. Like, and she like, okay, I'll shake on it. And so we shook on it. Right. As soon as I left the crib, I called Jeremy first. Jeremy first, and I was like, Brock, we got $10,000, cuz. Like, you know what I mean? For Little Church. I'm like, man, seeds growing, that's gonna have to come later, or it just might get nixed. And then I called Don, told him, you know what I'm saying? And then we just started. Then once I actually started coming up with like the budget, I was like, well, that money is nothing and it's gone. So
there's never enough money.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Never enough money or time. So pretty much we go through the whole thing and we shoot it or whatever, cast everybody. Oh, the film is starring Evan Franklin, and I want to tell you, like, this kid is a star. Like, he's a star. Like, it's Henri Franklin's son. Henri.
Right, Henri, yep.
Yeah, he's an actor. Henri's an excellent, he's one of the best actors in Michigan, in my opinion. But his son is 12, well, he's just turned 13 2 days ago. Okay. But he's a star. So we're premiering Little Church at Trinity, which I can't wait for people to see it. Don and Jeremy are the only two people who've seen rough cut to the film. Okay. Nobody's seen the film before we premiere it. Okay. Nobody's seen the film. Not my wife, not my mama, not my brother, none of the actors, because usually we screen stuff before we send it out to the public. And that's because I just don't want to take that moment, because it's one of those films you only see it for the first time once. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So you got to be recording that reaction in the theater. Like.
For sure. So right now, I'm about 40 pages into the feature script. Okay. So the plan is to submit Little Church to pretty much all the major film festivals, gather as many laurels as we can get, and then within that time period, secure funding for a Little Church feature. And then me and Don, we're working on other scripts as well. So that's really the plan. The plan is to
keep them coming.
Keep the pipeline full. Keep it moving.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. Stay creative. Definitely.
Yeah, and we're not looking for like super huge budgets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we're looking for substantial.
Just a little bit more. Just enough to make the next.
50 to 100,000 for the next one. For anybody listening.
50 to 100,000.
You heard
it. Generous.
Anybody got $50,000 on deck? Hit me up.
Yep, I will be posting the Little Church GoFundMe.
Exactly.
In show notes as well.
So yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. Yeah. All right, guys, we're coming to the end of this very intimate conversation. It's been great having you guys out, one filmmaker to another, learning, conversating. So tell me a little bit about what legacy for both of you guys, what legacy means to you. You know, how you want your legacy to be remembered, and maybe just 3 takeaways for any aspiring filmmakers out there. Like 3 takeaways. If this whole podcast was to get deleted, what would be 3 keys you can give to our audience out there?
For me, in terms of the legacy that I leave, I definitely would, I would want a person to say, hey, look, whether I like Don or not, I can respect, the time, energy, and effort that he put in to whatever it is that he was doing. That's going to be big for me, and just, I guess, if I had to make it plain, to just work on projects that when we finish with it, I can honestly say, like, yo, I'm proud of this. You know, and I think sometimes people, again, they just accept any old thing, and you know, I've been guilty of it early in my career, just trying to find stuff to work on, and it's just like, yo, this was trash, and I wasn't proud of it. But to work on something that when it's done, I can say, man, you know what, I'm proud to say that I was a part of this. That actually makes me feel good, and I think that kind of, you know, intertwines itself within your legacy, because you figure, you know, during your lifetime, and you know, that number is just being subtracted each day. You want to be able to walk away at the end of the day and say, hey, look, you know, this is, you know, my body of work, and you know, be proud of it. And in terms of the 3 takeaways for me, and this kind of like a no-brainer. I'm just gonna go off the dome. Be a man of your word. You know, if you say you're gonna do something, do it. That's like really huge. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, you know, that fear will, you know what I'm saying, paralyze you and cause you oftentimes to really slow down your pace. And so just don't be afraid, you know, to make mistakes. Like, it's going to happen. And I guess lastly, like I said earlier, you know, be curious with you know, just life, period. As a filmmaker, I feel as though, you know, you have some of these filmmakers, some of these writers that try to get into genres and just things that they have no interest in. You know, they kind of do it for, you know, money, or they do it because it's the popular thing to do at the time, but they just have no knowledge of it. And it's just like, hey, listen, you know, stay true to who you are, you know, and put that kind of stuff out. You know, don't start jumping into stuff that you just have no clue what you're doing, you know, because then you're going to put out, you know, crappy work. So definitely, yeah, those would be my takeaway. Those three, for sure.
Zach?
So what do I want my legacy to be? That's a heavy question. I pride myself on treating people well. So I think my legacy. So I'll say this. I think I would like, by the end of my life, I would want my legacy to be that I've always gotten better. I've never stayed stagnant. Because ironically, like, when I tell people that I was once lazy as hell, like, they don't believe me. And to me, I don't believe. I feel like that's a testament to kind of how much I've grown probably in the past 6-7 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know where I'm gonna be by the time I'm, 80, 90 years old. I don't know who I'm gonna be. But one thing I hope that continues up is that I continue to get better. And be a better person, be a better version of myself throughout my life, and that I adjust to the circumstances to kind of maximize, my, as Don mentioned earlier, my productivity. Not just being busy, but being productive. In terms of 3 takeaways that I would say.
Yeah, 3 keys, just like new filmmaker out there. Maybe he just got to...
It would probably be your journey is your journey.
Okay.
Watch films. But watch films, find the films that you want to make. You get what I'm saying? Find the films that you want to make. And then watch bad films, too, to know what not to do. You know what I mean? So me, of course, when you get in a film, they always tell you, like, you supposed to watch certain films. Like, you supposed to watch, like, Citizen Kane or The Maltese Falcon or The Godfather or, you know, like, There Will Be Blood or Pulp Fiction. Like, these are all great films.
Yeah, that we're supposed to
watch.
Right.
However, what you'll find is that every other filmmaker is watching those films. So it's kind of, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a huge hip hop fan. I actually make hip hop videos. YouTube me. But like, so like you can tell like when it's like a young rapper, or like especially if he's like a hardcore hip hop rapper, all their albums sound the same. All their first albums sound the same. Like they have like the song, they have like the story, like the hip hop story, like the I Gave You Power, like a Nas type or Undying Love Nas type story. They have the song where they're rapping for like 8 minutes, just straight bars. You know what I'm saying? They got the epic intro, you know, with the intro like the Jay-Z, like it's
they
like
got the interlude boys
because pretty much all the rappers, they all listen to the same stuff coming up. You know what I'm saying? They all idolize the same rappers. You know what I'm saying? But to me, the ones who separate themselves are maybe the rappers who are listening to, they may have been listening to like, instead of listening to just like Jay-Z and Nas, they may have had like Redman in there or something. You know, or they may have had like the Ghetto Boys in there. Or they may have had 8-Ball MJG in there. You know what I'm saying? And then
Cannabis.
Cannabis. Like
That's
it's all
guys.
it's like the references, like your reference point is different.
Right.
And I think like the information and the art that you take in, it affects your reference point, and that is inherently gonna affect your art. So I would say like find something that kind of stands out. You know, and find like, you know, like I told you earlier, one of my favorite films is In the Mood for Love or Carol. Like I know most people who listen to this podcast have probably never seen Carol.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or In the Mood for Love. And to me, I'm glad that they haven't because that's my reference point. Right.
And that gives you your advantage because now you're crafting your lane and it's not where everybody else is. You got your own avenue.
Exactly. And so that's what kind of sets you apart. And I would say the last thing that I would say is don't just pull from other filmmakers. Pull from everything, because you can find special things that might affect your work or might make you more unique. Okay. So like me and Don, we're both hip hop heads. So me and Don, we'll literally sit up on the phone talking about rap for like an hour straight, you know, like some obscure rappers or whatever. I'm always sending Don some super underground stuff or whatever. Right. But like
Pasalacqua, anybody familiar with that?
No idea.
All right, look them up.
For sure.
Yeah, Detroit bread.
Pasalacqua?
Pasalacqua. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. Okay. But yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't even know how that sounds. You gotta put that in the show notes.
Yeah, I will. I'll put that one in there too. But yeah, I hear you, man.
But no. So like one of my favorite rappers is Rock Marciano. He a rapper from New York, from Hempstead, New York. Yep. And like the way Rock Marcy just approaches his craft, like he makes like the most. Like he doesn't care if you like his stuff or not. You know what I'm saying? And his albums are like movies. You know what I'm saying? And so like I pull a lot from just how he approaches his craft in general. You know what I mean? Miles Davis. I pull a lot from how Miles Davis, if you go from like the 50s to 60s to 70s, you never knew which Miles you was going to get. He was always moving forward within his craft. You know what I'm saying? Scarface, you know, the rapper.
My block.
Scarface, like to me, I always say like the reason why Scarface is one of my top rappers ever is because Scarface has great albums in like 3 different eras. He has great albums with the Ghetto Boys in the 80s. He got a great album with the Diary in the 90s. Then he got a great album in the 2000s with The Fix. And then, I mean, all the rest of his albums are just really good. Right. Like, so, like, being able to grow with time and era and aesthetics and things like that, like, that's something that can affect all of us. It can affect anybody in any craft. Right. So, like, pulling those types of things from rappers is dope.
I love it, man. Definitely great to have you guys, man. Episode 6, Season 2, Career Pulse Podcast. I had the one and only Don Snipes and Zachary Cunningham.
For sure.
And we are out. Anything else you guys want to say?
Yeah, man, appreciate you for having us.
Yeah, Little Church. When's this going out?
This will probably be out next few days. Definitely
Okay.
this week. So,
Okay, for sure.
Before the premiere, yeah.
So if y'all come, if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the Metro Detroit area, we're premiering Little Church at the Trinity International Film Festival on August 9th at 8 p.m. At the Marlene Bull Theater downtown. It's in the YMCA downtown. So definitely come out. It's a very special film. It's a very special performance from Evan Franklin, who I guarantee when everybody sees this film is going to see a star in this little kid. Like, he's that good. Like, he's incredible. And I don't give many people compliments like that, but this little Negro is amazing. You know what I mean?
It's a little whippersnapper.
Yes.
His birthday was just the other
Yes,
day,
he's
too.
13 now. He's
Okay.
13.
Belated happy birthday to Evan. All right.
Yes.
And,
Thursday.
And it was a great crew. I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Brockman, who was the DP on the film.
Yep.
Jeremy was like the images are.
But you didn't say it right.
Jeremy Brockman, who actually Emmy Award winning.
Emmy Award winning. Yep.
He just recently won an Emmy for his work for the city of Detroit. We both work for the city. So yeah, Jeremy, the photography is incredible. And then I definitely want to kind of give out a shout out to just our support system as well, like my wife, Don's girl, everybody who gives us the time to be creative. Be creative and make all of this possible, because without those people kind of holding it down, we don't even have the ability to do this. You know what I mean? And shouts out to all the people who inspired us, and especially all the black filmmakers who did this before us, because we're doing it to honor y'all. Absolutely. Real talk. So.
Hey, and in the meantime, in between time, before Little Church premieres, check out You Better Run.
Yeah, check out You Better Run.
Very special short.
Yeah, check out You Better Run. It's it's on the Misfitted Academics Facebook page, and it's on my Vimeo, vimeo.com/ Zachary C. Cunningham.
Awesome. We'll try to put all that in the show notes too.
For sure.
So awesome. Great Career Pulse podcast listeners. We are done with episode 6 with Zach Cunningham, Don Snipes. We out.
For sure.
All right, Career Pulse podcast listeners, there you have it. Interview with the one and only Zach Cunningham and Don Snipes. Great takeaways from this episode. We really had a good time. Once again, it was my first interview where I interviewed actually a film director and another member of the crew, the assistant director, kind of the right-hand man, actor-director Don Snipes. So just some key takeaways. Don mentioned ways he, stays ahead and on the cutting edge of his industry, just being a voracious reader, always asking questions. I love Zach's philosophy on just always trying to get better every day, setting realistic expectations. They're also really big book readers, like I had mentioned with Don. They had a lot of good influence as far as different film titles and different books to read. And also, as well, a lot of what Zach says, your journey is your journey. And sometimes we can fall victim to comparing ourselves to other people. Don talks about the importance of creating your own lane, one of my favorite takeaways. And then just the fact about, what they talked about, just, being a man of your word, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and just pulling from different influence outside of what everybody else is doing. So I think that's a really big takeaway as well. So guys, episode 6, Career Pulse Podcast. Excited for our last episode will be next month with Charles Kennedy. Will be our season 2 finale. So looking forward to that. Charles Kennedy of Affliction. And we will see you guys then. Career Pulse Podcast. Out.